847 species filled the grand chamber, and every single one of them wanted to watch a teenage girl die. Rhea Holloway stood in the accused circle, a ring of blue light that marked her as property of the Galactic Council. She was 17 years old. She had dirt under her fingernails from the farm where she used to work. She had not spoken a single word in 6 months of imprisonment. The chamber floated in the space between 3 dead suns. It was made of crystal that sang when the gravity shifted. Beautiful, cold, designed to make the accused feel small. Rhea did not feel small. She felt patient. Counselor Threnval of the Syndicate Collective rose from his seat. He was tall and gray, with 3 hearts and 6 eyes that never blinked. His species had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They did not believe in mercy. The human female designated Rhea Holloway stands accused of 3 crimes, Threnval announced. His voice echoed through the chamber like stones dropping into water. Violation of the Genetic Sovereignty Accords. Unauthorized existence as a class. 7 biological anomaly. And carrying the deathworld adaptation sequence. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The deathworld adaptation sequence. Every species in the galaxy knew what that meant. Humans came from Earth, a planet so hostile that simply being born there was considered a form of violence. How does the accused respond? Threnval asked. Rhea said nothing. She watched the guards instead. 4 of them. Energy weapons. They rotated positions every 12 minutes. The one on her left had a slight limp. The accused refuses counsel and refuses to speak, Threnval continued. Therefore, we will proceed with evidence. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Rhea's genetic code, spinning slowly like a galaxy made of light. Dr. Nelithsar, the council's medical expert, stepped forward. She was small and blue, with delicate fingers designed for surgery. The human's genetic profile shows an extreme anomaly, she explained. At age 9, she contracted a disease that should have killed her within days. Instead, her body rewrote its own cellular structure to fight the infection. More whispers. Louder now. This is not normal human adaptation, Dr. Nelith continued. Normal humans take generations to evolve. This girl did it in 72 hours. Her cells learned to survive by destroying everything that threatened them. And what does this mean for the Council? Threnval asked. It means she is a weapon, Dr. Nelith said simply. Her body will adapt to any threat, any poison, any environment. Given enough time, she could survive conditions that would kill every other species in this chamber. The crowd erupted. Shouts in 100 languages filled the air. Rhea heard words like monster and abomination and danger. She kept her eyes on the guards that Threnval raised one long arm, and silence fell. The Council has classified Earth as a quarantine world for 200 years, he said. Humans who leave that planet are considered contaminated. They carry the violence of their homeworld in their blood. This girl is the proof of why we must never allow deathworlders to spread among the stars. He turned to face Rhea directly. His 6 eyes studied her like she was an insect under glass. Rhea Holloway, he pronounced, the Galactic Council finds you guilty. The sentence is death by cellular dissolution. You will be executed publicly, so that all species may witness the consequences of deathworld contamination. The crowd cheered. Not all of them, but enough. They wanted to see the dangerous human destroyed. They wanted to feel safe again. Guards moved toward Rhea. Energy cuffs glowed in their hands. They would drag her to the dissolution chamber, where her body would be broken down molecule by molecule over 12 hours. It was supposed to be painless. It was supposed to be humane. Rhea finally spoke. You have no idea, she said quietly, what my planet taught me to survive. The guards hesitated, just for a moment, just long enough for Rhea to memorize their faces, their weapons, and the exact distance between herself and every exit in the room. Threnval laughed. It was a cold sound, like ice cracking. Your planet taught you to die, he said. Earth creatures are always dying. From disease, from predators, from your own poison atmosphere. You survive only by accident. Rhea looked up at him. Her eyes were brown and ordinary. There was nothing special about her face or her body or her voice. She looked like exactly what she was, a tired girl from a broken world who had been running her entire life. But when she smiled, something in the chamber shifted. Several council members leaned back in their seats without knowing why. "You are right," Rhea said. "Everything on Earth is always dying. That is why we learn to fight so hard to live." The guards grabbed her arms. The energy cuffs clicked around her wrists. She did not resist. They led her away. Rhea passed close to Threnval's platform. Close enough to see the pattern of scales on his throat. Close enough to count the beats of his 3 hearts. Close enough to plan. "I will see you soon, Counselor," she said softly. Threnval dismissed her with a wave. "You will see nothing," he replied. "You will be dead within the hour." Rhea let them drag her toward the execution chamber. She had been patient for 6 months. She could be patient for 1 hour more. In her pocket, hidden during every search, was a small prayer bead made of carved bone. It had been smooth once. Now, after 6 months of careful work against her cell floor, it was sharp as a razor. She had learned many things on Earth. How to heal, how to hide, how to wait, and how to kill. The grain fields of harvest, 7 stretched to the horizon like a golden ocean, and somewhere in the middle of them, a little girl was crying because she had fallen off a fence. Rhea knelt in the dirt and examined the wound. "It is not so bad," she said gently. "Just a small cut. I will fix it." The girl was not human. Her name was Pella, and her skin changed colors with her emotions. Right now, she was bright purple with pain and embarrassment. Her species communicated through these color shifts, and Rhea had learned to read them like words. "It hurts," Pella whimpered. "I know, but you're brave, yes? Braver than any farmer on this whole planet." Pella's skin shifted slightly toward blue. "Pretty braver than you?" Rhea laughed as she cleaned the wound. "Much braver than me. I'm scared of everything." This was a lie. Rhea Holloway had stopped being scared of anything when she was 12 years old, standing beside her mother's bed in a hospital that could not afford the medicine to save her. Fear was a luxury for people who had something left to lose, but Pella did not need to know that. The medical station on Harvest 7 was small and simple. Rhea had helped build it herself when she arrived 2 years ago. Before that, she had spent her days on a smuggler's ship, learning medicine from alien doctors who believed that healing should have no borders. Before that, she had lived in the Detroit reclamation zone on Earth. Detroit had taught her everything. How to find food when there was none. How to hide when the gangs came through. How to stitch her own wounds when the clinics were full. How to watch her mother die slowly because the medicine existed, but the money did not. She had been 15 when a smuggler named Gideon Pike found her. He was rough and loud and made terrible jokes, but he saw something in the angry girl from the broken city. He offered her a choice: stay on Earth and die young, or come with him and learn to live. She chose to live. Now she was 17, and she had delivered babies and set bones and cured fevers on 6 different worlds. She had learned that kindness was the same in every language. She had learned that most species, when you got past the fear, just wanted the same things humans wanted. Safety, family, a place to call home. Pella's wound was bandaged now. Her skin had shifted to warm orange. Happiness. "Can I come back tomorrow?" she asked. Of course, but no more climbing fences. Pella ran off through the grain fields, her laughter echoing behind her. Rhea watched her go and felt something she rarely allowed herself to feel: peace. That evening, she sat on the porch of the farmhouse she shared with an old man named Bao. He was human, like her, one of the first refugees to escape Earth after the quarantine began. He had lost his wife and children to the Council's raids decades ago. Now he grew vegetables and told stories about a planet that no longer existed. "You seem happy today," he said, pouring tea from a cracked pot. Pella fell off a fence. She cried for maybe 10 seconds before deciding she was fine. "Baus. His face was a map of wrinkles, each one earned through decades of loss and survival. "Children are resilient. Like you, I'm not a child anymore." "No, but you were. And you survived things that would have broken most adults." He handed her a cup of tea. "That is not weakness, Rhea. That is strength." They sat in comfortable silence as the purple sky darkened toward night. Harvest, 7 had 2 moons, and they rose together like old friends. Then the lights appeared at T first. Rhea thought they were stars. But stars did not move in formation. Stars did not descend from the sky in perfect geometric patterns. Council Patrol, Bao said quietly. His voice had changed. Harder now. Older. They're just doing inspections, Rhea said. They come every few months. Not like this. Not this many ships. He was right. There were too many of them. A standard inspection required 1 vessel. There were 7 in the sky now, and more appearing every second. Someone had talked. Rhea stood slowly. Her mind was already calculating options. The forest to the east, the caves to the north, the river that led to the old mining tunnels. I can run, she said. I can disappear. I have done it before, and they will burn this colony looking for you. Bao's hand found hers. I know what you are, Rhea. I know what you can do. I have seen the medical reports you think you hid. She looked at him. You knew. I have been hiding humans for 40 years. I know a survivor when I see one. He pressed something small into her palm. Take this. Keep it hidden. Use it when you need it most. It was a prayer bead. Carved bone, worn smooth by decades of handling. The only possession Bao had kept from Earth. I cannot take this, she whispered. You must. It is all I have left to give. His eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. Do not die quietly, Rhea. Make them remember you. The ships were landing now. Soldiers were pouring out, their weapons raised. Rhea could hear Pella screaming somewhere in the distance. She could fight. She could run. She could let her body do what it was designed to do. Instead, she stepped forward with her hands raised, because if she fought, they would kill everyone she loved. And she had already watched one family die as the soldiers surrounded her. She gripped the prayer bead tight. It was smooth against her palm. Harmless, for now. The corridors of the council station were made of crystal, and they sang when you walked through them. A soft, haunting sound like wind through broken glass. Most prisoners found it unsettling. Rhea found it useful. The crystal vibrated at different frequencies depending on how many people were nearby. She had learned to read those vibrations during her 6 months in the detention block. Right now, they told her that 17 guards surrounded her, that a crowd of several thousand watched from the observation galleries above, and that the execution chamber was exactly 47 steps ahead. She counted each one the guards walked in tight formation around her. Energy weapons hummed at their hips. They were nervous, and they should be. The last human they had executed had taken 3 of them with her before the sedatives kicked in. That was 80 years ago, and the council still told stories about it. Rhea was not going to need sedatives. The observation galleries were packed with aliens who had traveled from across the galaxy to watch her die. Some of them threw things as she passed. Food, garbage, words she did not understand but could guess the meaning of. She ignored them all. Instead, she studied the architecture. The gravity generators hummed beneath the floor at a frequency of 12.4 hertz. Old technology, probably installed 300 years ago and never updated. The air recyclers created subtle drafts that flowed from the upper galleries down to the main corridors. The crystal walls were beautiful but brittle at the molecular level. Hit them at the right angle with enough force, and they would shatter like ice. She had spent 6 months memorizing every detail of this station. The guard rotations, the maintenance schedules, the location of every camera and every blind spot. Humans were good at that. They called it pattern recognition. The council called it paranoia. Both were correct. The execution chamber was ahead now. A massive door made of black metal, carved with symbols that meant justice in a dozen alien languages. Beyond, it was the dissolution chamber, where her body would be broken down molecule by molecule while the galaxy watched. But first, the preparation room. They led her inside. It was small and white, with a single chair in the center. Medical equipment lined the walls. A tray of syringes sat ready on a table. The sedatives were supposed to make the dissolution process painless. Rio was not interested in finding out. The door opened again, and Counselor Thrinval entered. He was even taller up close. His gray skin seemed to absorb the light. His 6 eyes studied her with the cold curiosity of a scientist examining a specimen. I wanted to see you one more time, he said. Before the end, Rhea said nothing. I have presided over many executions, Thrinval continued. Criminals, rebels, traitors, they all react the same way in this room. They beg, they cry, they bargain for few more moments of life. He leaned closer. But not you. You have not spoken a word in 6 months. Why? Rhea looked at him. I was listening. Listening to what? To everything. She tilted her head slightly. Your species has 3 hearts. The primary heart is in your chest. The secondary hearts are in your throat and lower spine. You also have a chemical sac behind your primary neural cluster that coordinates all 3. If that sac is ruptured, your entire system shuts down in approximately 2 seconds. Thrinval's eyes narrowed. How do you know that? I am a medic. I studied every species that visited my cell. Your doctor, Nelith, came to examine me 7 times. She talked too much. For the first time, something flickered across Thrinval's face. Not quite fear, but close. You think this knowledge will save you? He asked. No. Rhea's voice was soft, almost sad. I think it will kill you. Thrinval looked. It was a harsh sound like stones grinding together. You are restrained. You are surrounded by guards. You have no weapons. Rhea held up her hands. The energy cuffs glowed around her wrists. Do you know why my planet is called the Deathworld? She asked. Because it is full of predators and disasters. Because your species evolved in constant violence. No. Rhea shook her head slowly. That is what you were told. But it is not the truth. Then what is the truth? Earth is called a death world because everything there learned one lesson above all others. Every plant, every animal, every microbe. She met his 6 eyes with her 2. Survival is not given. It is taken. The energy cuffs clicked open. They fell to the floor with a soft clatter. The guard stared in shock. The cuffs had been calibrated to hold species 10 times stronger than humans. They should have been impossible to break. They would have been impossible to break. If Rhea had tried to use strength, but she had not used strength. She had used 6 months of patient work, slowly studying the cuff's frequency lock, slowly building a counterfrequency with nothing but her own bioelectric field. Humans could not normally do such things. Rhea was not normal. Kill her. Thrinval ordered. The guards raised their weapons. The sedation needles gleamed on the tray. 17 soldiers against 1 unarmed girl. Rhea reached in her pocket and pulled out a small object. It had been a prayer bead once. Smooth, round, harmless. Now it was a blade. I am sorry, she said quietly. I truly am. I would have lived peacefully. I would have hurt no one. But you decided my existence was a crime. She moved. The crystal walls began to sing. Time had not slowed down. That was a lie people told themselves to make violence seem poetic. Time moved at exactly the same speed it always did. Rhea simply moved faster. The first guard fired. His weapon was designed to stun, not kill. The council wanted her alive for the dissolution. That was their mistake. Rhea dropped beneath the energy beam and rolled forward. The guard tried to adjust his aim, but his species processed visual information at a rate of 16 frames per second. Humans processed at nearly 60. By the time his brain registered her movement, she was already past him. Counselor Thrinval stood 5 feet away. His 6 eyes were wide with shock. His 3 hearts were beating fast. She could see the pulse in his throat, exactly where the chemical sac sat beneath his gray skin. She had 1 chance. 1 strike. If she missed, the guards would kill her. She did not miss. The bone blade caught the light for a fraction of a second. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Bao had carved it from the rib of an earth animal that no longer existed. He had carried it for 40 years across 100 worlds. Now it found its purpose that Rhea's first cut severed the primary neural cluster. Her second punctured the chemical sac. Total time, 1.4 seconds. Counselor Thrinval was dead before his body understood what had happened. He fell slowly, the way tall things do. His gray skin turned pale. His 6 eyes went dark one by one. The sound he made was not a scream, but a sigh, like air escaping from a balloon. The guards froze in that moment of hesitation. Rhea grabbed Threnval's ceremonial staff. It looked like a decoration, but she knew better. The Syndicate Collective had been warriors once, before they became politicians. Their ceremonial weapons were still real weapons. She had learned this from the same doctor who talked too much. The staff hummed to life in her hands. Energy crackled along its length. It was keyed to Threnval's biosignature, but Rhea's body was already adapting, rewiring its own electrical field to match. That was her gift. That was her curse. That was why they wanted her dead. "Stop," she said. The guards did not stop. They opened fire. Rhea moved through them like water through stones. The staff blocked energy beams and shattered weapons. Her body twisted and turned in ways that should have been impossible. Humans were not supposed to move like this. They were soft, fragile, limited, but humans had evolved on a planet where standing still meant death. Their reflexes were designed for a world full of predators, poisons, and disasters. Fight or flight was not just an instinct for them. It was an art form. 4 guards went down in the first 3 seconds. 6 more in the next 5. The remaining 7 retreated toward the door, their weapons shaking in their hands. Rhea let them go. She stood in the center of the preparation room, covered in blood that was not hers, holding a weapon that still crackled with stolen energy. The body of the most powerful counselor in the galaxy lay at her feet, and the cameras were still rolling. The execution had been broadcast live across every network in the galaxy. Billions of beings had tuned in to watch the dangerous human die. Instead, they watched her kill. The feed cut suddenly. Too late. The image was already spreading across every corner of civilized space. A small human girl standing over the corpse of her executioner, looking directly into the camera with eyes that held no fear. Rhea addressed the room. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "I did not want this," she said. "I would have lived quietly on that farm forever. I would have healed your sick and delivered your children and never hurt anyone." She stepped over Threnval's body. "But you decided that my existence was a crime. You decided that being born was worthy of death." She raised the staff. Its light reflected off the crystal walls, scattering like stars. "Now you will learn why the galaxy fears my planet." Alarms screamed throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Somewhere in the vast structure, military forces were mobilizing. Hundreds of soldiers, thousands, all converging on one small girl. Rhea did not run toward the exits. She ran toward the station's central core, because she was not just fighting for her life anymore. She was fighting for every human refugee scattered across the stars. Every colony hiding in fear. Every child who had been told they were a monster simply because of where they were born. The Council had records of every human settlement in the galaxy. Locations, population counts, defense capabilities. If she could reach those records, she could warn them. She could give them a chance. And if she died trying, at least she would die for something that mattered. The guards were coming. She could hear them in the corridors, their boots echoing off the crystal walls. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Rhea Holloway smiled. She was 17 years old. She was tired and wounded and alone. She was facing an entire army, and she was just getting started. The lights went out in Sector 7, and 30 soldiers disappeared into the darkness. Commander Veth of the Council Security Force stood in the command center, watching his tactical display with growing horror. Red dots representing his soldiers blinked out one by one. No distress calls. No final transmissions. Just silence. "She is one girl," he said to no one in particular. "One human girl." "Sir," his lieutenant replied nervously, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach." "Reconsider?" Veth turned on him. The entire galaxy just watched her kill a counselor. "If we do not stop her here, we will look weak. We will look afraid." They were afraid. Every soldier on this station was afraid. They just could not admit it. Rhea Holloway had turned the Council's greatest strength into its greatest weakness. The station was designed to house representatives from hundreds of different species. That meant hundreds of different environmental requirements, different atmospheric mixtures, different gravity levels, different lighting spectrums. She was using all of IT in Sector 7. She had triggered a gas leak that was harmless to humans but paralyzed the soldiers stationed there. In Sector 4, she had adjusted the gravity to 3 times Earth normal. Most species collapsed under that weight. Humans barely noticed. She moved through the station like a ghost, appearing and disappearing at will. The maintenance tunnels were too small for most council species. She fit perfectly in the command center. Veth watched his carefully organized response crumble into chaos. "Where is she going?" he demanded. "Central Core," his analyst replied. "She is heading for the data vaults." The data vaults, where the council kept its most sensitive information, including the locations of every human refugee colony in the galaxy. She is not trying to escape, Veth realized. She is trying to warn them. He grabbed a communicator. "All units converge on the central core. I want every entrance blocked, every tunnel sealed. Nothing gets through." But even as he gave the orders, he knew it would not be enough. She had already proven that she could go where they could not follow, see what they could not see, and survive what should have killed her. She was a deathworlder, and she was hunting them 0.3 levels below. Rhea pressed herself against a wall and listened. The crystals sang with the vibrations of approaching soldiers. 40 of them. Too many to fight. She ducked into a maintenance shaft and crawled. The shaft was designed for cleaning drones, not people. It was dark and cramped and smelled like recycled air. Rhea did not mind. She had grown up in worse places. The abandoned subway tunnels of Detroit had been darker, tighter, and filled with actual dangers instead of just the threat of them. She emerged in a small storage room on the level above. Empty. Good. The data vault was close now. She could feel it. 2 more corridors. 1 security checkpoint. And then she would have what she needed. A noise behind her. She turned on. A maintenance worker stood in the doorway. Small, gray-green skin, wide eyes filled with terror. "Please," the worker whispered. "Please do not hurt me." Rhea lowered the staff. "I'm not going to hurt you. They said you were a monster. They said you killed the counselor with your bare hands." "I used a knife, actually." Rhea almost smiled. "What is your name?" "Court." The worker's voice trembled. "I cleaned the ventilation systems." "Court." Rhea studied the small being carefully. "Your species. I recognize it. The Syndicate conquered your homeworld 300 years ago." Court nodded slowly. "We are servants now. Workers. We have no ships, no weapons, no rights." "Then you understand what it means to be hunted." Something changed in Court's eyes. The fear did not disappear, but something else joined it. Something that looked almost like hope. "The data vault," Court said quietly. "You want to reach it?" "Yes. There's another way. Through the waste processing system. The guards do not watch it because nothing larger than a cleaning drone should fit through the pipes." "Should fit?" Court almost smiled. "I have seen humans. You are surprisingly flexible." Rhea considered the small worker for a long moment. This could be a trap. A desperate attempt to earn favor with the council by delivering the escaped prisoner. But Rhea had learned to read people. In Detroit, reading people wrong meant death. Court was not lying. "Why would you help me?" she asked. "Because my grandmother used to tell me stories," Court replied. "Stories about a time before the Syndicate, when my people were free." The worker met Rhea's eyes. She said that one day, someone would come who was not afraid to fight back. Someone who would show the galaxy that the council could bleed. "I'm just one person. One person can be enough." Court pointed down the corridor. "Blue panel. 3rd junction. The access hatch is hidden behind a false wall." Rhea nodded. "Thank you, Court. Make them remember," Court whispered. "Make them remember that we are not afraid." Rhea vanished into the shadows. Behind her, Court returned to cleaning the ventilation system, as if nothing had happened. But the small worker was smiling now. For the first time in a very long life, Court was smiling. The waste processing system was exactly as horrible as it sounded. But Rhea had crawled through worse. She emerged on the other side, covered in substances she preferred not to identify, but she was inside the data vault. The console glowed in front of her. Thousands of files, millions of records. And there, buried in the encrypted depths, the locations of every human refugee colony in known space. She did not have time to copy them. She did not have the skills to hack the security, but she did not need to. she found the emergency broadcast system, designed for evacuation alerts. Capable of reaching every corner of the galaxy in seconds, she typed 3 words, "They are coming," and then she added coordinates. A rendezvous point in deep space. A place where humans could gather, could organize, could fight back. She sent the message. Alarm screamed. The vault door exploded inward. Soldiers poured through, but Rhea was already moving toward the shuttle bay. Her mission was not over yet. Fleet Admiral Rand Sethi had fought in 37 wars across 4 different galaxies. He had killed more enemies than he could count. He had never lost a battle, that he was standing between Rhea Holloway and the shuttle bay. "I have studied your species," he said calmly. His voice was deep and measured, like a judge delivering a verdict. "I know what deathworlders can do. The enhanced reflexes, the pain tolerance, the stubborn refusal to die when any sensible creature would surrender." Rhea stopped walking. She was exhausted. The wound in her side was bleeding again. The staff in her hands felt heavier than it should. "Then you know you cannot stop me," she said. "Perhaps." Sethi tilted his head. His species had evolved as predators on a jungle world. They were fast, strong, and utterly without mercy. "But I can try." He moved. Rhea had never seen anything move that fast outside of Earth. Sethi was on her before she could raise the staff, his clawed hands reaching for her throat. She twisted aside, barely avoiding the killing blow, and brought the staff around in a desperate arc. He caught it, ripped it from her hands, threw it across the bay. "Weapons are a crutch," he said. "True warriors do not need them." He struck her across the face. Stars exploded behind her eyes. She hit the ground hard, tasting blood. "I expected more," Sethi continued. "The humans in the stories are giants. Monsters. Unstoppable forces of destruction." He stood over her, blocking out the light. "You are just a child." Rhea spat blood onto the floor. "Children survive on Earth," she said. "It is adults who die." She kicked out, aiming for his knee. He dodged easily, but it bought her a second to roll away. She came up in a crouch, hands raised, and no weapon. No advantage. Just a tired girl against a professional killer. Detroit rules. Then she charged. Sethi laughed and met her head on. His claws raked across her arm, drawing blood. His knee drove into her stomach, knocking the breath from her lungs. He was faster than her, stronger than her, better trained than her. But he did not know what she was willing to sacrifice. When he pinned her against the wall, one hand around her throat, Rhea did not struggle. She did not try to break free. She headbutted him. The impact was terrible. Rhea felt her nose shatter. Blood poured down her face. Pain exploded through her skull. But Sethi's species kept their primary sensory organs in their forehead. The blow crushed them. He screamed, releasing her, stumbling back with his hands pressed to his face, blind. For just a moment, Rhea did not hesitate. She grabbed the nearest object, a piece of broken equipment from the floor, and drove it into his chest. Once, twice, 3 times, until he stopped moving. Then she collapsed beside him, gasping for air that tasted like copper. The shuttle bay was quiet. Through the massive windows, she could see Council warships positioning themselves outside. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They would never let her escape. She dragged herself toward the shuttle. Her body screamed in protest. Every muscle burned. Every bone ached. But she had come too far to stop now. She reached the console. Her fingers left bloody prints on the controls, but she did not activate the shuttle. Instead, she found a communication system. And she opened a channel to every network, every station, every corner of the galaxy. "My name is Rhea Holloway," she said. Her voice was broken, but it carried. "I'm 17 years old. I am human. Today, your council sentenced me to death for the crime of existing." She held up the bone blade. Bao's prayer bead, still stained with Thren Val's blood. This belonged to a man named Bao. He was a farmer. He never hurt anyone. He just wanted to grow vegetables and tell stories about his home. Her voice cracked. The council destroyed his world, killed his family, forced him to hide for 40 years. And there are millions like him. Millions of humans scattered across your stars, hiding from a government that wants them dead. Outside, the warships were moving closer. Soldiers were gathering at the shuttle bay doors. You call Earth a death world. You call us monsters. She stared directly into the camera. But we did not come to your galaxy to conquer. We came because our planet is dying and we wanted to live. We asked for nothing but a chance. The doors began to buckle. They were cutting through. You refused. Ria's voice hardened. So now I am making you a promise. For every human you kill, we will remember. For every colony you burn, we will grow stronger. You think you have seen what deathworlders can do? The doors exploded inward. Soldiers flooded the bay. Weapons raised. Ria Holloway smiled, bloody and broken and absolutely unafraid. You have not seen anything yet. The feed cut to Black Point 3 months later. Ria Holloway was officially listed as terminated in council records. Her body was never recovered. Human refugee movements tripled despite increased patrols. 17 council facilities reported unexplained security incidents. A new symbol appeared on walls and ships across the galaxy. A small circle of carved bone. The council called it vandalism. The humans called it something else. Remember our I in the outer territories, far from council patrols. A small ship drifted through the darkness. Inside, a young woman with a healing scar across her face reviewed stolen data on a flickering screen. Beside her sat Court, the maintenance worker who had helped her escape. Where do we start? Court asked. Ria Holloway looked up. Her eyes were tired but bright. The prayer bead hung around her neck on a cord of braided wire. Everywhere, she said. The ship turned toward the stars, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, humans began to gather. Farmers and doctors and mechanics and children. Refugees and survivors and dreamers. All of them drawn by 3 simple words. They're coming. They came together. They told stories about a girl from Earth who had killed a counselor and escaped an army and sent a message that echoed across the galaxy. And they began to prepare, because Ria Holloway had taught them something the council had forgotten. Something humans had always known in their bones, in their blood, in the very cells of their bodies. Survival is not given. It is taken.